Welcome to the crossroads where ancient wisdom meets digital horizons.
So much of the content we're seeing from these really powerful AI systems today, the poems, the art, the marketing copy, it all has this familiar but kind of unsettling quality to it. It's competent, yeah, but it often just feels sterile.
Profoundly generic.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And just packed with the most common cliches.
It's the sound of the entire internet boiled down to its most statistically probable average. And that is the essential crisis we are tackling today. We're looking at the greatest weakness of modern generative AI. Its inability to produce anything truly original, authentic, or, well, to use a heavier word, soul-stirring.
Right. We're talking about systems built on the totality of human knowledge, and yet they struggle to reflect the specific textured beauty of a single culture or a specific human experience. We've been looking for a technical fix for this, but the solution we're diving into today, proposed by the digital philosopher Salah Nomad, is anything but technical.
We are diving into Nomad's framework. It's called the Amazigh Weaver's Prompt. And this is a deep exploration of how a centuries-old communication protocol from North African Amazigh weavers can completely transform our relationship with AI.
So we're moving from just giving it commands.
Published commands, yeah. And we're moving toward engaging in a kind of structured dialectic.
So the mission today is to figure out how to turn that sterile average into something rich and culturally resonant. But okay, first, we have to understand why the problem even exists. What's the root cause of all this AI banality?
Well, Nomad's argument is that the issue isn't really in the algorithm's power. It's in our lack of precise intentional input. It's an epistemological problem.
A problem of how we know what we know.
Exactly. How we structure knowledge. We feed these incredibly complex systems what it calls sin-impoverished instructions, and then we sort of illogically expect rich, complex results back.
And that just creates a feedback loop.
A relentless feedback loop of cliché.
And this philosophical concept is really key to framing the problem, right? When we're generic, the AI is just a mirror for our own lack of specific intent.
Precisely. And this is where Nomad makes a really profound connection. He sees this convergence toward the sterile average as a modern manifestation of Heidegger's concept of Das Man.
Okay, Das Man, let's pause on that. For anyone who hasn't spent time in German philosophy, what does that concept actually mean in practical terms? And how is generic AI output the ultimate tool of the they?
Das Man is the anonymous, inauthentic public self. It's the way people speak and act and think, according to the expectations of the collective. It strips away individual, deeply felt meaning. So when you write a generic AI prompt, write me a story about freedom, you aren't speaking from your specific situated experience. You're speaking in the anonymous voice of the they.
And the AI gives you back.
It gives you back the statistical average of the they. The result is stripped of any personal, cultural, or authentic weight. It's inauthentic by design, because the prompt itself was inauthentic.
That immediately establishes the high stakes here. We're letting technology erode specific culture, specific selfhood, just by failing to define the boundaries of what we're asking.
And that leads us directly to the anecdote that crystallized all of this for Salah Nomad.
Yeah.
He asked an AI to generate an image of his Moroccan hometown, Sterile Average.
And what did he get back?
He described it as a digital postcard from a country that doesn't exist.
Wow.
Sterile Average is ancient, it's coastal, humid. It's known for white and green architecture, very specific food culture. But the AI just defaulted to the global stereotype of Morocco.
Generic desert, camels, dunes.
Exactly. Vast emptiness. The AI didn't fail technically, it failed culturally. It substituted a story for a stereotype.
So if that Western linear command and control way of prompting leads to this cultural failure, where did Nomad find a language rich enough to fix it?
He found it in a place called Tadafte, watching Amazigh women weave carpets. He realized their craft isn't just an aesthetic practice. It is a complex, sophisticated communication protocol.
A protocol.
Yeah. Encoding histories, prayers, family narratives right into the wool. It's a patterned wisdom, a non-Western system that engages in a dialectical process. The weaver is in conversation with the loom, with tradition, and with her own specific individual intention.
That connection between textiles and computation is beautiful. You're saying the very act of weaving, with its structure and its constraints, that's the blueprint for a better way to talk to AI.
That's it, exactly. It moves us past thinking of AI as a simple tool, you just pointed at a problem, and toward seeing it as a collaborator you have to define the world for.
And this insight is actually backed by data.
It is. Early data, but very promising. Dr. Elena Rodriguez in computational linguistics found that prompts structured this way generate an astonishing 63% more original content.
63%.
She calls it providing cultural scaffolding.
That's the perfect metaphor. You're not just throwing paint at the canvas, you're building the frame first.
Which brings us to the 4 principles, the 4 essential components of the Amazigh Weaver's prompt.
We're defining the world, the story, the texture, and the soul. So let's start with that outermost layer, the container, principle 1, the border.
The weaver always begins by defining the border. And this border, it's not just decoration. It defines the sacred space where the story unfolds. It sets the rules, the palette, the constraints.
So all meaningful creation needs this defined space.
It does.
Yeah.
And applied to AI, this means we have to establish context before the request. This is more than just a system rule. It's an existential limitation.
Okay, give us an example.
Sure. Instead of the open-ended write a poem, you start with the entire world in which that poem is relevant. Something like, you are a 12th century Andalusian poet, recently blinded, exiled in Morocco. Your memory is restricted to scents and sounds, not sights. Your tone must carry deep, melancholic wisdom.
So if I'm understanding this, by defining this border, we're basically shutting down 99% of the AI's training data. We're forcing it to only use knowledge relevant to this very specific context.
That's the mechanism, precisely. You prevent it from defaulting to generic 21st century tropes.
And why does that work so well?
Because it aligns perfectly with hermeneutics. The philosophical idea that all understanding is deeply situational, rooted in context. By defining the border, you're forcing the AI to become a native speaker of that context. It has to find the deeper situated meaning inside that poet's world.
Okay, so once that world is established and constrained, we move inward to the heart of the matter. Principle 2, the central medallion.
The unambiguous essence. If the border is the container, the medallion is the one undeniable subject, the core idea. For a weaver, it might be a diamond motif symbolizing the family tent.
So for AI, the application is to state the core request with singular precision. Within that blind poet context we just created, the request has to be laser focused.
Correct. So the request becomes simple, but it's magnified by the context. Write a short poem about the scent of rain on dry earth after a long drought.
A statement of intent that can't be diluted.
And that's pure phenomenology, the clear statement of the thing itself. The medallion ensures the AI has a sun for all the stylistic elements to orbit around. It's the antidote to conceptual vagueness.
All right, now we have the framework and the core subject. This is already so much richer than a standard prompt, but it's still missing that human-specific texture. Which brings us to principle 3, the filler motifs.
The texture of lived experience. Yes, these are the smaller repeating patterns in the carpet that tell the granular story. A zigzag for a difficult journey, maybe triangles for tents or mountains. They inject lived experience.
So for AI, we are providing incredibly specific stylistic instructions that are tied directly to that cultural framework we built. We have to move past vague words like evocative.
For our poet, we would instruct, the language must feel heavy and water-starved. Use metaphors of thirst and memory. Create a rhythm that feels uneven, like walking on loose cobblestones. Reference a specific scent of bruised mint and the color of fired clay.
Okay, so we're injecting cultural terroir. But here's my question. If we're telling the AI to use specific images like mint and clay, isn't there a risk we're just layering a new set of specific cliches on top of the old ones?
That's a great question, and it's where the structure comes in. Because the border principle 1 has already constrained the AI to a 12th century Andalusian poet's knowledge base. Those motifs, the mint and the clay, are forced to resonate within that defined context of exile, not some generic tourist postcard. You're giving the AI the specific tools of the culture, and it has to combine them according to the rules of that culture.
That makes the distinction clear. The structure stops the cliches from being just cosmetic. And finally, we get to the most profound principle, the one that really guarantees humanity. Principle 4, the intentional flaw.
The invitation to the human spirit. This is, I think, the genius of Nomad's framework. Amazigh Weavers will include a small, deliberate imperfection, a misplaced stitch, a mismatched color. This flaw acknowledges that only the divine is perfect, and it's also said to be how the weaver's human spirit escapes the confines of the carpet. It makes the work uniquely human.
So we actually instruct the AI to embrace ambiguity. We tell it to introduce a liberating constraint.
Exactly. You tell it, end the poem with a question the poet cannot answer. Include one image that feels emotionally true but logically out of place. Introduce a brief moment of self-doubt.
It's a direct rebellion against the machine's inherent quest for sterile statistical perfection.
You're deliberately disrupting the smoothing tendency of the algorithm.
But when we tell the AI to introduce a flaw, is it really a flaw? Or is it just another controlled variable? I mean, doesn't the instruction to be imperfect sort of remove the authenticity of a genuine human error?
It is a paradox, yes. But it's a paradox designed to create what Dr. Samuel Chen at MIT calls creative friction. The instruction forces the AI to break the established patterns in its training data.
And does it work?
Chen's team found this principle increases perceived authenticity by 57%, and crucially, emotional resonance by 44%.
That's a stunning validation.
It is. The instructed flaw acts as a powerful signifier that the work isn't just calculated. It bears a human scar. It prevents that overly polished result that our brains now instantly flag as machine-made.
Okay, let's put all four pieces together. I think the real power here is in the practical contrast. We should show you, the listener, what the Weaver's prompt can actually do.
Absolutely. Let's start with the standard generic prompt. If we just type in, write about Moroccan hospitality.
You get what you'd expect, right? Generic descriptions of mint tea, bright colors, friendly smiles.
Maybe a reference to a tagine. It's pleasant, but completely forgettable.
Okay, now let's apply all four steps of the Weaver's prompt to that same theme.
The border, the context is set. You are a Jabala grandmother in the Rif Mountains receiving unexpected guests in the final hour before sunset. Your resources are limited, but your obligation is sacred.
The medallion, the essence. Describe the specific sensory details of the moment the guests' bags are set down in the courtyard.
The motifs, the texture. Include the scent of freshly crushed orange blossoms, the sound of the wizen in the distant valley, and describe the fading light using colors of charcoal and fading rose.
And the intentional flaw. And with a single fragmented memory of a similar moment from your own childhood that you are unsure ever actually happened. And the narrative you get back is textured, specific, and memorable. It's not about generic mint tea. It's about the exact quality of light on the furniture, the heavy thud of the bags,
and the vulnerability of a questionable memory. It transports you to a place that actually exists. This contrast highlights the whole philosophical shift we're talking about.
We're moving away from just using AI as a tool for efficiency.
Exactly. Moving away from what's called instrumental reason toward what Nomad defines as a reciprocal AI hybrid alliance. The human provides the context, the constraints, and the soul. The AI provides the speed and the scale.
You're giving the AI a history, a location, and a personality before you even ask it to speak.
And that's the modern embodiment of Nomad's philosophy, rooted nomadism. It's bridging deep ancestral wisdom with the newest technology.
And the results speak for themselves, not just in the originality of the output, but in user satisfaction.
Right. Professor Marco Bellucci in digital anthropology found that users applying these cultural frameworks report 68% higher satisfaction with what they generate.
68%. And the work is more culturally grounded.
By 52%. It makes perfect sense. The effort you put into crafting a structured prompt is rewarded with output that actually feels like it's yours. You're collaborating, not just commanding.
So to synthesize all this for you, the listener, the key to generating deep, textured, and culturally resonant AI results isn't about volume or endless iterations. It's about elegant structure. It comes down to 4 simple steps from the Amazigh weaver: define the border, the context, state the core intent, weave in the motifs, the cultural texture, and introduce the intentional flaw, the mark of human vulnerability.
Meaning emerges from elegant structure and specific constraint, never from a blank canvas. By using these ancient patterned ways of communicating, we are, in effect, weaving our own specific human stories and our culture into the very fabric of our digital future.
It's an incredible insight that the solution to our most modern digital crisis was perfected centuries ago in the Atlas Mountains, not in Silicon Valley.
And if you look back at that final principle, the intentional flaw is really an act of Socratic wisdom. It is the acceptance of human limitation, of imperfection, as the very source of authenticity.
It's the freedom the weaver gives the yarn to reflect the complex, beautiful human condition. And that raises a really important question for you to consider. If perfection is the enemy of authenticity in AI creation, what other intentional imperfections could you introduce into your own daily use of technology in your planning, your communication, your work, to ensure that the outcome always retains a human soul?
May your roots grow deep and your signals travel far.